thought today we'll spend the next 10-ish minutes just covering a little bit about the rise and evolution of what I call corporate nomadism in the recent landscape. Talk a little bit about our Live and Work Anywhere program to give you an idea of the various dimensions of it, and then just share some key insights and learnings. It's been almost a year since we launched the program, so we're continuing to learn and evolve from it. So let's first talk about corporate nomadism. You know, the digital nomad life is not new, but I think what is new and what got accelerated through the pandemic is the existence of nomadism in the corporate context. So both for the employee and the employer. So to talk about it, let's talk a little bit about what was corporate nomadism before the pandemic. It was fairly limited, as employees were generally tethered around an office geography. So even if you were a remote employee pre-pandemic, you were mostly working from home. You were generally in the same state or province where your office was located. You rarely crossed borders hopping around continents if you were a remote worker. What that meant was, prior to the pandemic, travel was either business-sponsored or it was a personal trip for short vacations or leaves that were very personally driven. And hence, the lines were very clear between business and personal travel. What has happened during and through the pandemic is, I think corporate nomadism has just expanded with no geographical limits. Travel is now primarily personal driven because it's from a personal desire to experience and travel different cultures and places around the world. And what this means now is that the lines are blurred between living and working, and that's caused a big tug of war in today's kind of conference context. And let me give you an example to help bring this to light. I'm here in Dublin this week. It was a business-sponsored trip by my employer, Airbnb. I was in the office yesterday. I met my whole team, had a series of meetings. I'm here with all of you today to knowledge share, but also to learn and grow for my own personal development. It was a business-sponsored trip. As a US citizen, I was able to just get on with our travel agents, book a ticket, hop on here, no visa restrictions as a US citizen. If I wanted to come back this summer for a couple days, couple weeks, couple months, and get points from my own credit card, pay for my own trip, live and work out of an Airbnb here, and in the evening, meet a lot of great friends that I met in the past 2 days, I cannot do that legally without putting my employer at risk from a compliance perspective, and honestly, myself at risk from a tax perspective as well, because the immigration and work authorization rules are very different. They're business-driven or personal-driven, and we're in an era where they're both blended, and the regulations have not caught up. Now, if I wanted to go to Malta or Croatia or Greece or Bali, I could do that because those governments and those countries have issued things like remote work visas. Sometimes they refer to it as digital nomad visas, where I could simply purchase it, and then I have a right to work in that country. But not everyone is there yet. There's about 25, maybe 30 countries at best that have issued these visas, and we have almost 200 countries in the world. So we have a long way to go, which is what's causing this push and pull. Wanted to talk briefly about some myths and truths and insights about nomads. A leading travel industry authority published a great research paper last year, and a lot of the facts are from there. We often think nomads are young. They're fresh out of college, or they're early on in their career. Well, 3 in 5 are over the age of 35 plus. The age spectrum has become wider as the influx of corporate nomadism and adoption has grown. Nomads must be early career. They are their own boss. They can control their own schedules. They don't report to anyone. Well, 4 in 5 are now full-time employees of an employer. Again, changing the spectrum into corporate nomadism. Nomads live on a budget. They love the hostel life. Well, over half of nomads make over $100,000 a year today. So the spectrum is wide. They're full-time employees. They're fairly high earners, which means that tug of war between employees wanting flexibility to go around the world and the employers trying to stay compliant while they give them that flexibility is a big push and pull, and regulations are in the center of it. Wanted to share a little bit of insight from our own customer data and what we see in our platform on Airbnb. Employees, individuals, people want to experience destinations more fully without moving their permanent residencies. So they want to keep where their home base is, but they want to go elsewhere, experience cultures, and really absorb while they're there. Working while traveling and traveling while working has become the same thing. Long-term stays, which is what we define as 28 days or longer on our platform on Airbnb, has been our fastest growing category since last year and continues to be our fastest growing category, which tells us that people are staying for over 28 days, a lot more than they did pre-pandemic. Leveraging tech-enabled flexibility, I know we've heard a lot about this, but we have collaboration tools now. Knowledge workers that do not need to be physically in an office to do their job have an abundance almost of technology solutions. And if you take it to a little bit of an extreme, like 30 years ago, without the internet or without Zoom and Slack, this would not even be possible. So there is a lot of tech-enabled flexibility that knowledge workers can take an advantage of. So a little bit wanted to cover about what our program is. We tried to develop a program that was multidimensional, so folks could actually, our hope was that everyone could find at least one aspect to relate to on that. So the first part is employees can work from home or the office. It is purely their choice. I could go in 5 days a week, I could never go in. It's what I need, what's best for me, my lifestyle, my family at that point in time, and you can choose at varying points in time. Employees can live anywhere in a country and their compensation won't change. This is a really big deal, especially in the US and Canada, where tier-based compensation is the norm. So if I use an example, I could move from a 300 square foot studio in downtown Paris to a winery in southern France, and my pay would not change. It's value-based pay versus location-based pay. Have the flexibility to travel and live around the world. Corporate nomadism that I just talked about and the complexities that come with it, we want to support our employees to do that and travel around the world. And while we understand that and believe that Zoom can get you productive and it can get work done, you do need a level of in-person connection to really strengthen those relationships. And being here is great proof of that. And we wanted to make sure that we had coordinated gatherings so that employees knew that they would get that dose of in-person recharge over time. So that's collectively our program. How did we do this? It really took a village. We invested in a new center of excellence dedicated to live and work anywhere, the program. We worked with a lot of G&A functions. That's fairly common. What are the risks? But a few call-outs here is we also worked with our product team. So as you see our releases twice a year on our product, they are with the lens of, are we enabling folks to live and work anywhere with simple things like our filters and whatnot. Design and marketing, what is our future of our offices going to be like? We're partnering really close to figure out, without mandating behaviors, you don't know how people are really going to use stuff. So how do you study that? Our continued dedication, so over the last year, what we've tried to do is make sure we continue to evolve the program. There's kind of three key aspects. We are in a very unique position at Airbnb where we know how to work with governments, so we're helping influence the work authorization and policy changes that I referenced earlier that are the biggest barriers today for people living and working anywhere. We understand what remote workers want. We've been seeing it in our data. And more importantly, we have the supply of homes to host people around the world. So we are in a unique position, and we're continuing to leverage that. We're investing in learning, and I don't mean this in the traditional L&D HR context. I mean it in the context of we are doing space pilots in our offices. We're building different types of collaboration zone, heads down zone. We want to see what do people want. And that is going to inform how we actually do. We've put sensors in our offices to see are nooks going to be used, are meeting rooms going to be used. So really studying where the future is going. And enhanced benefits. We just released a tax benefit for every employee if they want to leverage before they make a decision to live and work anywhere, because there are personal tax impacts. We have an education allowance we just launched, a live and work anywhere flexibility allowance, really trying to meet employees where they are. I will talk a little bit about insights. This is, a lot of you may have heard, we had over 1 million hits on our career page a week after we announced the program. Did not anticipate that, but loved it. That's kind of translated to, we've had over 200% increase in applicants from over 2,700 unique cities around the world in the last year. Our employee diversity has reached its highest since we started tracking it in 2014. Our employee engagement, our most recent survey in November, has been its highest since it has been since we started doing it in 2015. and over 20% of the Airbnb employee base has used it. I'll caveat this with this cannot be directly correlated to just our Live and Work Anywhere program because we do a lot for our employees, but since it started, the trend has continued. I'll just wrap up with some key learnings. Lean into what your employees want and what they need. We heard them loud and clear. They wanted to live and work around the world, so we built a program for that. Reevaluate your entire employee value proposition. This is something we kind of learned later on and hence enhance our benefits. And determine what works for you. There is no one-size-fits-all, so this may or may not be the right thing for your business. I'll wrap up with three key takeaways. There is an opportunity to embrace flexible work for everyone. You don't have to believe that everyone is going to work remotely for this trend to continue. All you have to believe is that knowledge workers that do not need to be tethered to a physical location will want flexibility and try to meet them in what they need. Leverage our insights. We published a white paper in September. You can find it on any search engine. If you look at, type in Live and Work Anywhere white paper, we published this for our HR colleagues, but also for governments to help increase the policies. And the last one, my favorite, is the juice is worth the squeeze. This is not easy. Remote work is not easy. Even corporate nomadism. Invest in it, and you will see results if it's adopted. If not, tweak it, and it's well worth it. So with that, thank you for having me today. You can find me on goliveandworkanywhere.com if you need to connect, and very glad to be here. Thank you.